Why, hello there. Welcome to the first installment of Her Story RVA, a virtual women's empower series created with Black women in mind. And this installment is called Cutting Corporate. My name is Chelsea LeMore of iPower 92.1 and 104.1, and I'm so excited to introduce today's panelists. So, August is National Black Business Month. And Radio One has recognized many Black-owned businesses across the country. Black business owners account for 10% of U.S. businesses and about 30% of all minority-owned business. For anyone out there considering joining the world of minority-owned business, this is the virtual event for you. This evening, we will offer advice for anyone wanting to quit their 9-to-5 job and pursue their dreams. And I have a powerhouse team of women who did just that and are here to share their stories. Let's meet our panelists. First up is Cassandra Ferguson, radio talk show host, author, and speaker. Hi, Cassandra. Cassandra is described by many as being passionate, bold, exciting, courageous, and a purposeful business strategist leader. Cassandra provides professional and personal development training in the areas of leadership, team building, communications, customer service, and organizational effectiveness. One of her key strengths is the ability to help you discover and develop your sweet spot and field of favor.
Thank you, Chelsea. What an introduction. Hello.
Thank you. I'm only giving what I'm working with, okay? You give me a lot to work with.
You gotta work it. You can be giving, you gotta work it, and you're working it. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Next, we have Miss Danita Turner, author of Pass the Word. Hello there.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Great to see you as well. Danita is an executive trainer, life coach, and president and CEO of Image Builders Incorporated, a company she founded to help individuals establish more effective and positive self-image. Ms. Turner has a 20-year career in sales and marketing at Fortune 500 companies, including Marriott International Incorporated and the Coca-Cola Company. She's made great appearances on NBA Today, ESPN, NBA Inside Stuff, and has been featured in other media such as the Washington Business Journal. Among her clients is the National Basketball Association. When she's not on assignment, Ms. Turner turns her time to work on her golf game, read, and bake a treat she's known for sharing with her clients, her popular pound cake.
Nothing like a good pound cake.
Look, that'll seal the deal.
That's it. Feed the client.
I think that's the secret.
That is the secret.
And last but certainly not least is Miss Shane Roberts Thomas, owner of Southern Kitchen Restaurant.
Hey, hello, Chelsea. Hello, everyone. Hello, beautiful women. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
We're so glad to have you. Shane Roberts Thomas is the daughter of Linda Roberts and a born native of Richmond, Virginia. She's the innovative chef and owner of Southern Kitchen in Richmond, Virginia. Southern Kitchen has been in business for almost 6 years. Shane has made Southern Kitchen her own by reintroducing a classic turn on Southern cuisine. Before owning Southern Kitchen, Shane was a top advertising senior account executive for radio and television for 21 years. Most of her culinary experience comes from working with her big mama, where she learned old Southern traditions. Shane's favorite part of being a chef is making good food for great people, because it allows her to do what she loves. Also, eating can be a lot of fun too.
Yes, ma'am. Don't
That's
say
a fact. Okay.
Say it ain't so. Say it ain't.
I got the midsection to prove it. Okay.
You and me both.
Too much fun.
It's COVID weight. It's COVID weight. Don't worry, you gonna get it all.
Thank you for our panelists for joining us this evening, and thank you to our sponsors for this evening: Elevation Group Media and Zelda Nell Public Memorial Foundation. So, ladies, how are you doing? I know you mentioned COVID weight, but how are we doing in the midst of COVID with business and everything, and mental?
Well, go ahead.
No, wow, Cassandra, I'm sorry.
I guess we'll start with Cassandra and work our way around.
Look, I'm doing good. I'm staying positive. I'm staying in prayer. I'm just believing God for a great outcome. You know, the scripture reminds the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, only to those that can endure to the end. So let's endure. Just staying positive, staying in prayer.
Miss Danita Turner.
Best thing I can say, one of my passions is the love of words, and that's what the book is about, pass the words. But so I've leaned on one word in particular through this unprecedented time, which has been faith. We always believe when it's going well, but when it gets a little bumpy, we start to saying why and, not me. So I've leaned on my faith, but I found one of the things that's helped me the most is my giving spirit. I've found a way to share and give and inspire women that are out there giving, supporting their kids, jobs, work. So my giving to them during this time, since I'm still able, has been the thing that's helped me get through it and keep me positive, because I have to stay pumped up and encouraged for them. So that's been the best medicine for me, giving.
Awesome. Love that. And Shane?
So Deuteronomy 1:11. Always remember that, 1:11. Okay. So let's just keep in mind that with God, he says he's a father of all fathers, and he will bless you 1,000 times over. So we about to get some blessings, ladies. 1,000 times
I'm
over.
ready. I'm ready.
What? He said
Yes.
1,000 times. He didn't say one time, two times. He said 1,000 times. So I'm just waiting for my money to multiply back to 1,000 times. And I know it's coming. Listen, when I quit corporate, I was at the top of my A game. It wasn't for money. It was because I wanted to follow a passion. So what God has in store for you, no man, no COVID, nothing can block it. Because when I left that world with making a lot of money and benefits to go and be poor for about 5 years, honey, faith was a big thing. And I'm gonna tell you something. If COVID is this a small thing compared to owning a business that you have no money to start. So for me, it's just a chapter in my life right now. And I'm just turning that chapter. And I'm just waiting for what God has in store.
You gotta stay ready.
I'm telling you.
Come on, Reverend Deacon Shane Roberts.
Church this morning.
I know you had a preach in Southern Kitchen.
Yes, honey. Deuteronomy 1:11, baby.
That's why the chicken is so good. She prayed over it first.
That's right.
And the ancestors told her when to start seasoning.
Yeah, a little bit.
I am there.
I love it.
Now we know the secret.
Yes, honey. The secret is gone.
But I love it. Everyone's COVID medicine, as Ms. Turner said, has something to do with faith. And I think that this is the biggest time for people to rely on their faith, as well as in that faith, finding the confidence and courage to believe in themselves too. That's even part of my journey during COVID, not working and having the time that I've been wanting for years to focus on the things that I want to do, and not having to say like, well, I got to go to this place and go to that place. And literally, I felt like this was God's way of telling me to be still. And I've been able to accomplish more in the past 3 months than in the past 3 years, because I've been able to have that time to dedicate to myself that I deserve. Okay.
And being still helps us be creative. And when we get creative, we start thinking of options. And when we have options, we have a better life, because a good life is a life with options.
That's it.
That was another little gem. Okay.
Just saying.
All right. So due to the impacts of COVID-19 has had on the economy and the job market, many women may find themselves now considering leaving corporate America and starting their own businesses. So this is a question to everyone, and we'll kind of work our way around like we did the last time. Tell us about the moment that shift in thinking started for you, Cassandra.
Well, actually, I am not with corporate, but I am with a nonprofit in which I am still doing virtual teaching to young people about financial literacy. And what I would say the most important thing is to have a plan. Okay. A lot of people do things emotionally, and I've gotten those conversations. I say, have a plan, write the vision and make it plain. And so what it's like with me is this, you're hearing when you should do it, right? And how you should do it. And the only thing is that you are the executor of the plan. So what it does take is faith, right? And it also takes you shutting yourself down from the naysayers, because that's going to come. How in the world are you going to do that? Because God has given me a plan. So I would say for me, it's always writing the plan. always making the vision plain, always putting the steps. And I guess because back in 2007 and 2008, I was a part of that mortgage crisis, and I had to shut my mortgage company down. Mm-hmm. Now, I can say I had a plan, but I'm going to tell you this. I did not have a plan the way I have it for Elevation Global Media Group. Mm-hmm. So we learn. And what we do is we do things a little bit differently. So putting things in place, and it's a freedom. When you're in your purpose, when you're walking in your divine assignment, it's a whole nother you. It's like, it's a freedom. It's a liberty. It's a like, woo, this is why I was born. This is what I'm doing. This is what I love. And it's just everything. And I'm going to tell you, everything that is assigned to you to help it to go forward, God will bring it. Every person, everything, every resource. And like my friend, Miss Danita said, that being resilient is the key. So that's what it's for me. It's fulfilling. It's just fulfilling.
Yes, love that. Miss Danita, when did that shift in thinking happen for you between corporate and starting your own business?
I still remember the day. I can tell you the person I was speaking to. I can tell you where I was sitting. And my mentor, who was an executive vice president at my last employer, asked me in one of our sessions, what job are you preparing for next? What would you like to see next? Where would you like to go? So we can start preparing you for that. And I said quietly, because I knew there was no job there I wanted. Not that I could have had it, but there was still nothing that I wanted. So I made some nice general statement, and I decided that day I bought a journal and I started journaling, and I gave myself 2 years to come up with what would I like to do next, because I knew it was time for me to go out and do some of the things that I wanted to do. And from that day, I started preparing. I gave myself 5 days a week to do one thing every day toward my goal. And I started by asking questions. What do people tell me that I do well? And out of all the things they say I do well, what can I get paid for doing? Because there's a hobby and then there's a business.
Come on.
I didn't want a hobby. I got hobbies. I wanted a business. So then that's what I started making notes for, the things that people tell me I'm doing well. And then I started doing preparation, which is another word that I love in the book, which is I started preparing financially. But what was the moment when I knew I didn't have an answer and I had a hand to lift me up, to take me there? And I knew I didn't want it, and I didn't want to block that space for someone else.
Love that.
Love it.
And Miss Shane, what was the moment in that shift for you where you were like, you know what, I got to go?
So for me, it was looking back at raising two amazing young ladies. So generational wealth is what I wanted for them. And so what I tried to say to myself is, what legacy will I leave behind for my children? Because I come from a legacy of working women, worked a job, came home, raised their children, grandmother, great grandmother, my mother. So for me, looking at a legacy to leave behind, to change, have a paradigm shift in my life, to change that moment in time for my children, to become an entrepreneur. So for me, it was setting out a vision to create this magnificent moment that I could look back at my children and say, when it's time for me to go, hey, your mom ran a good race and she did something different. She did not stay in corporate. She gave you a chance for generational wealth. And I felt capped in corporate. I felt like, how much money can I make in corporate? You know what I mean? I was in sales and marketing. I was a great salesperson. Everybody loved me, but it was a cap. I couldn't make more than the person that owned it. So I kept saying, wait a minute now. Hold on. I'm the one selling everything. I would want a piece of that pie. That sugar, that sweetie pie, I need something. So for me, it was like, if I can make $1 million on my mouthpiece for somebody else, then I can make $1 million for myself.
That's it.
So it was as simple as that. You know, it was as simple as generational wealth and me wanting to take my self-worth and to make what I was doing for someone else work for myself.
That's it.
And that's just real talk. You know what I mean? I could say sugar coated for you, but that's realistically for me what it was.
I love that. And as a daughter of an entrepreneur, my mom has had her own business my entire life. She has a hair salon.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that I learned from my mom being an entrepreneur that even though I'm not doing hair, I'm able to apply to my own business, work ethic, balancing the books. But especially my mom told me maybe a couple months ago when I was like, Mom, I think I'm just going to full-fledged jump into what I'm doing. And she said, well, I commend you. Let me know anything I can do to support you. And she was kind of telling me about her journey. And she said, I haven't had a paycheck, someone sign a paycheck for me in over 30 years. And as scary as that sounds, it's so liberating, like you said, to say, I am in control of my destiny. If I can stand behind a chair and make all of this money for someone else, I know I can do it for myself. And even though I have no desire to do hair, I do plan on taking over the business and expanding it in a way that I've learned with my degree to, take it to the next level. And that could be the same for your daughter. And that's a lesson that I think that my mom has definitely tried to instill in me from an early age, especially as Black women, that you can work for these big corporations and make lots of money, but when you're gone, that company doesn't belong to you. Right. What I have belongs to you. Right. And changing that mindset to a lot of, people my age as well. I think we're starting to get it now. After we had gotten to the real world, we're like, no, wait a minute now. Can I have something? But I mean, it's really a shift in mindset for African Americans, especially in particular, that it really resonated with me, Shane, what you said.
Thank you.
So they're watching you. I'm telling you, they're watching. So speaking of them watching you, whether they tell you or not, anyone who has quit their corporate job at some point has had their fair share of struggles. But it's also in the struggles that you discover resilience.
Yes, I love it.
Love it.
That you never knew that you had. What are some of the struggles you face with transitioning out of corporate America and into starting your own business that are lessons that we can learn from, Cassandra?
Okay, so there were several struggles. Number one were relationships. Let's just say people that you thought would support you, people you thought would be there, people you thought would understand, they dropped off, or they kind of gave you the ghost me. They ghost me, or seemed like they weren't there or weren't seeing it. And then also financially, I went through some financial struggles where I had to, I actually lost some vehicles. I was about to face foreclosure, but thank God he gave me a strategy on what I need to do as far as to save our home, because we actually moved out of our home, right? So we thought that we'll move out, we will rent it out, we'll move out and rent it to someone and go to a lesser amount of a mortgage payment. Well, that person was in the military and they ended up getting reassigned. So our home sat empty. The home we left sat empty for about, I would say, 8 months. And then one day God said, move back, because he said, you got afraid of the grasshoppers in the land. So we came back and he said, now all the faith it took you to leave, use that same faith and apply it to keeping and saving your home. So, but the hardest was the people, the people that you thought would be excited for you, the people we thought that would support us. It's like, they weren't there. So what I would tell people, you may lose friends, you may lose homes, you may lose cars, but don't lose yourself. Don't lose your passion. Don't lose the dream that God has given to you. Continue to go forward in the things that God has called you to do, and watch you get the return from it. And again, I had a friend to say some of the things that you love, that you release, and God will bring it back greater. And that's exactly what happened with me.
Awesome. Those friends, I tell you, those friends. Woo. Miss Danita.
Close to in some regard, as Cassandra's comments, my struggle might be a little different. I planned for 2 years, down to the day that I was going to quit, the day I was going to give the notice. I wanted to pay for everything I needed to run my business before I quit. I didn't want a partner. I didn't want a loan. So I had clients before I took vacation days to earn money checking account. And I had paid for stationery, logo, I mean, everything, printer, everything separate for the office, so that when I quit, my money would be about trying to take care of other things, not the setup. But the struggle became, so that worked. The struggle became finding out that family and friends, as my mother used to always say, everyone's not happy for you. And I had to find out the hard way. It's usually the people that are the closest to you that hurt you the most when you find out they're not happy. We had a comment earlier that talked about one of the things that I learned. What comes with that is when they don't want you to do as well or better, it's a reflection sometimes on the fact that when I have said or they have said it's not possible, when you do it, it reminds people it is possible. So now you make me look bad. So I can't root and support you when you're in fact doing something and I'm not doing anything over here. So my struggle was getting over the fact that I could still be okay with these people. I knew what to share with them and what not to share. I keep my business to myself. When talk about struggle, they don't know if you don't tell. Because then the people that are the closest to you, once you start telling them everything, and then when they fall out and they're not so close to you, now they know everything. So I just said, I keep it simple. I just won't tell anybody anything. And that way I got over slowly the pain of understanding the best thing I could do when losing friends and family. They were the core of people I call my village that were. I learned a great elevator speech. I figured I'd better get out here and meet some strangers to help carry me over. What faith didn't do for me, it took me to some other people. And I made my money off strangers. I learned how to tell them in 2 or 3 sentences what my goal, my mission was, how I could help them. You have to tell people what's in it for them. Don't spend your time talking about you. They don't want to hear about you. They want you to tell them what you're going to do for them. And when you can convince them that you're the person to do that, then people reach out. My struggle was understanding I just had to go out here and meet people. And I don't like doing all that. I'm slow to, social media. But I realized to save myself, I had to step outside myself and go meet some strangers. And one or two of the strangers that I met in the early years, this is my 24th year, I met 24, 23 years ago. And I am still, thank goodness, provided a living from that introduction. You have to do things you're not used to doing and thinking that people that know you, they just gonna help you and lean on you. No, not so much.
So Shane, what are some of the struggles you faced with transitioning from corporate America to opening your own restaurant?
So we would be here all day if I started to talk about my struggles. We would be here from now until tomorrow morning. So any struggle that I could have imagined that would happen to me happened. And I think the biggest thing for me was putting it into perspective. Why I left corporate was because of the struggle. Right? So I left because the struggle for me was I never saw myself being able to create that generational wealth staying in corporate. So I said to myself, now you dedicated 20 some years to corporate. You can't give yourself 5. Right? Right. You gave corporate 27 years. You don't want to give yourself 5 years to see if you can make it. So for me, every struggle that you could name, financially, mentally, physically, emotionally, I sacrificed to get to where I'm at. So sometimes when you see somebody at the top and you're wondering, they're gleaming and glistening, they got all kinds of cars and houses and they showing off now. Trust me, I can make a personal testimony to trust me. It probably wasn't that pretty from the beginning. So sometimes, when I find myself looking at the realism of everything, the realism becomes that your success after you quit corporate is just a success in trying to start your own business. Because it's baby steps to get places. But when I go and buy that nice dress or them nice shoes, honey, and I step out now, I don't feel bad at all. I feel great. Because there was a time when I had people sitting in my restaurant and the lights went off, or the taxi were at my door putting a lock on the door, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to get it off. So when I go into the store, if I do something nice for myself, sometimes it's well deserved. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
It's behind 18 hours of struggle and grind. It's behind putting my children through an emancipated lifestyle, but it did not come without sacrifices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think I need to hear more real talk from business owners.
Come on now.
They gave me the fluff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They
Right.
didn't tell me. So if you ever want to come talk to Shane about business, trust me, you're going to get realism. I'm going to tell you, I'm an open book when it comes to that. My personal life a little different by my children and my mom and my family. But when it comes to business talk, I will give you the business 101.
Come on.
Well, you kind of already done that. I watched the show that you were on.
Yes.
And you know, when the program was ended, more than anything, I was like, wow, it takes a level of courage to be able to be that transparent with people. I mean, not just people, the country, about your business. And honestly, it was just like to see you glow and happy in your family. It was amazing to watch. So, I mean, you are definitely a testimony. She walks it like she talks it. She will give you the real.
Business, honey. I had so many people saying, Miss Shane, you always say what's on your mind. I said, yeah, I have lived my whole life knowing that. I say what's on my mind. You can either like it or hate it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm gonna just say exactly what's on my mind. I don't sugarcoat things. You know.
Yeah.
You know, in this world right now, we need more of that because we have a lot of politicians. You know, I'm not gonna say no names. They're sugarcoated. You know what I'm saying? We have a movement of Black Lives Matter where things were sugarcoated and they weren't brought to light. So when you come to me, you get a realism. You get the lights.
Right.
So you know.
You know, I think too, we have to prepare ourselves. I frequently hear people say when you're doing, as you're speaking about sharing real information, we call it criticism. It's not criticism, it's feedback. And we have to move away from the word criticism because sometimes it's just feedback. Because if you think about it, if you've asked yourself, how did I prepare for this transition? Sometimes we just jumped. And I always, when people call and say, how did you make it work? I always ask people, do you know how much it costs to be you?
That's it.
That's my first step. And that's a math exercise. And I'm emotional about that. That's like, you know, numbers and, you know, and what does that really look like? So when we talk about speaking the truth, mine is, can you afford to have health insurance? Because if you're not working and you're not healthy, you can't deliver.
That's it.
You know how much it costs to run you, not all the pretty dresses and all the cute stuff. And when you willing to give up, and that's part of the feedback, because people want you to feed the dream and tell me the good side of being self-employed. I learned on somebody else's dime the hard stuff. That's why corporate was good to me. I paid attention. I didn't moan and groan while I was there. I said, what do I need to learn here? Like every job. So when I left, I knew how to build an infrastructure because I learned on somebody else's dime.
That's it.
I learned how to sell it like you guys were in sales and marketing. I learned how to sell, pitch, write it on somebody else's dime. I think that's what we have to share with people too. Don't be so afraid to not learn from where we are.
That's right.
There's something there. You know, it's like all relationships. There's something good in the people and maybe something not so much.
Awesome. I'm calling you Miss Anita.
You call me anything. I've been called everything. So
a lot of times when you tell people to think about it, they don't think that you're using faith. But you know, God told me a long time ago, you need to mix faith with wisdom. That's wisdom. When you sit down and you look at the numbers, you look at what it's going to cost you, you look at how it's going to go, and that's why I said I'm doing it different than I did with, you know, I had the mortgage company. Divine Processing and Prosperity Mortgage Company back in 2007, 2008 before the crash. So I chose to do it different. And that is that wisdom part, writing, making things clear. How much is it going to cost me for me, like you said, and to withhold this infrastructure and to go into this brick and mortar, to employ and to all that. Those are wisdom points that people need. Yeah, you can have, because we didn't. One thing is this: I told God, you know, this right here is going to survive a pandemic. This right here is going to survive an economy downfall. This right here is going to survive a tsunami or whatever.
I hear you.
Because this is because of the wisdom that has come along. And like I said, the planning that has come along. And a lot of times people don't plan.
That's it.
They go on their emotions. They say, I got an idea. Well, every idea requires a plan. Every idea requires a strategy. And for, I'm going to tell you right now, I said, when you guys were talking, I said, God, these are my people.
I'm here for you.
This is what I needed. I know our viewers may say, I needed this. You need to hear. You need to hear, they say, you're going to show me your scars, but you ain't going to tell me how you got those scars. Right. But us people, how we got the scars, why we kept going, why some days you may have seen me and some weeks you may have seen me and some that you may have not, because I went into prayer because it was just that deep and that serious.
Right.
Why some weeks I could not talk. Why some weeks, I had to be laser focused. You may have thought I was ignoring. No, it was just that deep. Yeah. It was just that deep that I needed to make sure I didn't lose me or lose my mind in the process.
Yes. But just remember, dear, sometimes we have scars and sometimes we have wounds. That's you had scars because you got up and you kept moving. Wounds slow us down. Wounds need a lot of attention.
Yeah.
You just get scarred in the battle, but that's all right.
Yeah. But that makes me think about, I guess, being a babypreneur, a baby entrepreneur myself.
We need more of those. That's right. Chelsea.
Is a wall that I have been running into besides my mother is the lack of sharing information, especially what I find amongst women, right? And I love being in groups of women, but sometimes I think that across the board, people think that if they share information with you, that somehow it's taken away from them, and it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like passing on those like nuggets of knowledge on to other entrepreneurs, something that you may have learned that may help someone else, or so they don't have to go through that. I think that sometimes people have this mentality of, well, I went through it, so you will have to learn. And it's like, well, why can't we just, why we gotta go through that? Why I gotta go through that? I don't want to go through that. If there's a better way. And so I think that what's really important that all of us are doing is sharing what we've been through, information, how to get prepared, what things to look out for, what type of people you need to be surrounding yourself with. Because if you've got people that send you with some information, that might be a sign that they know can help you. Like you said, people were sugarcoating it instead of some things that they could have told you that would have really helped you along the way.
Yeah. Because sometimes we have a great idea, but it is a hobby.
Right.
Not a business.
Right.
Back to that exercise that helps you understand if that's a hobby.
That's it.
When you can't.
What's the difference? What is the differentiating factor? If I can get it out, differentiating. You know what I mean?
I got
struggling today. Factor between a lot of people, especially my generation, they say, well, turn your passion into your paycheck.
They do.
They tell you to turn your passion into your paycheck, especially if you're creative. How do you discern between what is the hobby and what can become your business?
Math. It starts with math. I think in my world, it starts with math because passion is great. And I love what I do. And they say one of the signs to tell is you'd be willing to do it for free.
Right.
But I was raised on you can't learn everything the hard way because you don't have enough money or enough time. So sometimes you have to reach out. So when I think of I want to earn my passion, I think that's fine. But are you living in somebody else's house because you can't afford it? That's back to the math. See, when you want to live your passion and live your dream, can you fuel your dream and pay for your dream?
That's it.
Because some of our grandparents, they weren't passionate about what they did, but they fed you, clothed you, sent you to school. So I think it's very nice. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do in your passion. Can you afford your passion? It's like liking certain kinds of shoes or a certain kind of bag. Can you afford that? Because passion still comes back to, I think, math. How much does it cost to be you to live your dream? If you want to open your business and do these things, how much does that cost? You can't fall in there and then find out, I didn't know they pay me for this. I didn't know you had to pay taxes. I can't. And for me, I ask a lot of people that were successful in a variety of businesses, not just the business I wanted, to your point earlier. I looked at models of people that were successful. Some of them were living the real dream. Some didn't mind what they did, and some of them loved it, but they needed it to do. And in this climate, you may not be living your passion, but you have to understand the difference between maintaining and saving your honey and being out here waiting for somebody else to come save you, because they're not coming, because most people can't afford to do that now anyway. So that starts, for me, it still comes down to be practical. Learn from other people's experiences. What can I learn from them? And be willing to not take it as criticism.
Right.
It's feedback.
That's it.
And now lastly, I'll say this is, I tell people, go ask people what you're good at doing. And ask them what's your weakness and what's your strength. And when they tell you your weakness, don't cuss them out. And don't let me tell you about you. You absorb what they tell you, and that will help you a lot learn how to figure all those things and get to your passion.
Right. And even if you have to glean from people afar, when you said that, Danita, I thought about, even if you have to glean from someone that may not be close up to you, but it could be a person, like you said, looking at other people, they may be far off, and you can say one day you may meet and say, you were my mentor far off.
That's
but
it.
what I always say is check the fruit. Check the fruit in their life, because with everything that people do, if they're doing it well and they're doing it good, they're going to have some fruit, and you're going to be able to pick from that if they're, if you're closer to them. So I always say, don't all the time go by Facebook famous and Instagram famous people, because people will put on there just enough so you can buy their product, buy their coaching service, or buy their book. But when you begin to really dig down and say, well, this may not be the person that I need to glean from. I need to maybe look at somebody. I remember one day God told me this. He said, I need you to look at ABC and NBC and CBS on how they ran and operated a media group. And I said, wow, now do I know people? But no, what he set it up, God set it up with, it set me up in, and it's that he allowed me to be a part of a media alliance group that CBS and NBC and ABC producers and everyone is a part of. He allowed me to meet Hollywood producers. And that's what I'm saying. Everything you need would align. If you are truly, and this is where the passion comes in. If you are truly passionate and you're willing to go 150% in, everything that needs to come to you will align to you. And that's the law of attraction. It's true. If you continue to feed junk and feed stuff, junk to you, then junk will come to you. But if you align, you have a paradigm shift. I think one of the ladies said, when you begin to have a paradigm shift, you see your business as $1 billion. And that's what I keep telling my team member. This is $1 billion media group. If you continue to say that, that means that everything that aligns to that will come to you. No, don't get me to downplay my vision. Don't do that. Just because you don't see it, don't get me to downplay something God told me that's going to be. I'm going to keep saying it. And if you don't understand it, that's fine. But this is what God told me. And everything, every person, that's why I say you guys are part of the new for me. You're part of the equation that God has put in my life today. I believe everything is by divine appointment. I don't just think everything is coincidence or happenstance. So, and now what I need to do is Chelsea, what I need to do, I need to nurture those that I know that God has put in my life for this season to help move me a little further ahead.
And Cassandra, yes, I love it. That's amazing, because bouncing off of that, a lot of people came to me and said, because once you quit corporate and once you start your own business, you need to start looking forward. So when I say looking forward, looking at what's my next move? Because your next move could be your best move.
Woo!
So I'm always planning ahead. I don't ever look back. Because if you were driving in a car and you looked out your rear view mirror too long, you would crash. So look forward thinking for me. So when people come to me with television offers and things, sometimes I take a little pause sometimes because of my brand, because I believe in seeing a future for more Black young women in chefs and culinary world where we'll have more Black Martha Stewarts, where we'll have more Black Baffert Contessas. So where we'll have more Black Bobby Flays, where we'll have guys, diners, drive-ins, and dives with Black people talking about food. So I think, you know, culturally, we've missed some big elements that I believe I'll see before I end my business. And so, like, when people come to me from national television now, sometimes I take a pause because my next move has got to be my best move.
Come on now.
I hear you.
Right?
No time to waste. No time to waste.
I have no time to waste.
No time to waste. Right.
I'm not getting younger, so I have no time to waste. It's monopoly. It's like chess for me now. Where am I going to place that next piece on the board?
Right.
And I never think about the situation I'm in, because any situation I'm in, I'm unstoppable. And I say that to myself every morning. I'm unstoppable.
That's right.
Because if I made it this far,
that's right.
It's no telling where I'm gonna be in 10 years.
Come on.
You know, so I just keep saying, I keep moving forward and thinking forward. I'm not thinking for this right moment I'm in sometimes. I'm thinking, where am I gonna be tomorrow, next week, next year, next month?
And that's part of the strategy Ms. Cassandra was talking about. Because when I hear you, like I think so many people now would jump at the first offer for a television show. But when you say, you know what, let me take a step back, and like Ms. Anita said earlier, people that have options, that's what life is about, having options. So now you do the choosing, okay?
Right. and you bite your tongue.
Okay, because sometimes we feel grateful to be chosen, but when you're in a position where you do the choosing,
how about
and that's how that shift, and that's what entrepreneurship is about to me, is now I can do the choosing. I'm not just chosen and I have to stay within this box or this confine. Every offer that comes to you, you have the opportunity to say, this works for me, this aligns with my brand, or maybe it's not the right time for this. And you can plan and strategize your business the way that you see fit. Love it.
Watch who we get entangled with.
Yeah.
That's another word for 20. That's another word for 2020.
What Jada say? She was in an entanglement.
You can't walk with everybody. You can't be a part of everything just because it's an opportunity. What I said, don't get so excited, and like you said, and I appreciate that, Shane. Like, no, don't. You got to make sure you are walking with who God wants you to walk with.
Yes.
Because you can't. Because something comes out later on about this entanglement.
Cassandra, that's right. Cassandra.
Entanglement that you not use them to go into, and now your brain is all messed up.
Yeah.
Then you got, like the word says, a good name is rather to be chosen than riches. Now now tell people, I didn't know. No, you got to watch it. And that's what God has told me. Not everybody you ain't supposed to walk with. You ain't supposed to connect with. You know, because I have not destined for you to connect with them.
Yeah, right.
So we got to be careful. We can't be emotionally excited that we allow wisdom to take a second seat in what we do. No,
preach, girl. I hear you.
Come forth, wisdom.
That's right.
Tell them, Cassandra.
That's it.
Cassandra, it was an entanglement, Chelsea. An entanglement.
And she calls it entanglement. That's
a little fresh to me. I don't know. I think that's a story we ought to hear one day.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So there's been a lot of great information shared from all of the panelists. I mean, like I said, from a babypreneur myself, I mean, I feel like I was placed here, like Ms. Cassandra said, to just soak up all of the knowledge. I need to go get some catfish while I'm thinking about it.
Well, you know, we are grateful and thankful to be a part of, you know, just an amazing team of women today. And, you know, my biggest thing is, I always tell people, God's favor is not always fair. Right? He brings favor sometimes, and it's not always fair. And he says you will be known by your works. So I just continue to work hard, ladies. Just work hard.
Yes, I love it. So that's their advice, that Shane is giving. Miss Danita, what final words of advice would you give for anyone that's ready to transition from corporate America to being an entrepreneur? Okay.
I hear you.
What words of advice would you give?
I'll just jump in and say one of the things I always challenge people to think about is don't settle for average. You have to be above average. And that means you have to become flexible. There was a time when generalist was okay, but now you need to be really great at something. Be really great. You might be flexible and a generalist, but be really, great at something. But don't settle for average. No one wants average. Doctors, cars, people in your life, average. So that would be my challenge to most people thinking about starting their business. Open up. Be receptive. You don't know everything. Do the work first, because you will be shocked out of your shoes if you don't. Yep.
Love it. Love it. And Cassandra, words of advice?
Oh, I'm back to writing the vision and making it plain. And not only with writing the vision, but I also, in my vision, I put the people that I needed to move the vision forward. So I had positions, I had names, I had those, and a lot of times us, and they talk about how women, we would sometimes just think that it's just, we need to go get our friends, we need to go get our family, help us, but we should know. What we do is we stray away from the people that actually carry the level of expertise and the skill set to help us. So do it afraid. Ask those people that carry that level of expertise. Write it and just walk it out. And I always tell people every day, continue to dream. And continue to dream big.
Yes, love it. Thank you again to all of our panelists, Cassandra Ferguson of Elevation Global Media Group, Miss Danita Turner, author of Pass the Word, okay, because she done gave us some words today now.
Words, yeah.
And the owner of Southern Kitchen, Miss Shane Roberts. Thank you so much for joining us. We also want to thank our sponsors once again, Elevation Global Media. And Zeldin Nell Pollock Memorial Foundation. Thank you again. And of course, make sure you're tuned in on Facebook Live at 5 p.m. this Wednesday, which is September 2nd, on Kiss Richmond's Facebook Live for our second installment on what Black women need to know about building generational wealth, hosted by Miss Community Clovia. I am Chelsea LeMore, and that's a wrap.